I thought as a public service, since it's so hard to find reliable news these days, tonight I would provide a few rules of thumb for trying to follow the news in our modern age. Starting with, if the headlines in your preferred news outlet routinely feature words like shreds, destroys, pummels, bashes, your outlet is a partisan piece of shit. Either that or you're reading a Batman comic. If your news outlet consistently reduces everything that happens in the world to who the president of America is, get rid of it. It's just thoughtless, reflexive team politics. Trust me, no one lighting a tire fire in Haiti is thinking, I wouldn't have done this under Trump, but given the weakness of the Biden administration, why not?
So, I thought as a public service, since it's so hard to find reliable news these days, tonight I would provide a few rules of thumb for trying to follow the news in our modern age. Starting with, if the headlines in your preferred news outlet routinely feature words like shreds, destroys, pummel, bashes, your outlet is a partisan piece of either that or you're reading a Batman comic. If your news outlet consistently reduces everything that happens in the world to who the president of America is, get rid of it. It's just thoughtless, reflexive team politics. Trust me, no one lighting a tire fire in Haiti is thinking, I wouldn't have done this under Trump, but given the weakness of the Biden administration, why not? Bill Maher is taking a break from roasting Democrats and has now turned his fire on the left-leaning media. Why? Because he's had enough of the lies, fear-mongering, and non-stop panic they peddle to the American public. We're living in an age where news isn't really news. It's a circus of sensationalism designed to grab attention and rake in cash. And Maher thinks that business model is downright insane. He's called them out in the most savage way possible. And yes, I've got all the clips. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. It's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion. Because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch. There are 2 million college students in the US and 2,300 have been arrested. That's 167th of 1%. And half of the ones in New York weren't even students. But we were given the false impression that these protesters are the voice of their generation, having found a cause for which they were willing to go to the tents and to the barricades. Oh please. These kids are more violent when their team wins a championship. Bill sets the stage by highlighting how media outlets, especially those on the left, have mastered the art of brewing a storm in a teacup. Take the recent student protests against Israel, for example. Maher didn't hold back as he called out CNN and others for pushing narratives that made it seem like every college student in America was anti-Israel. But here's the kicker. That outrage represented less than 1% of the entire U.S. university student population. Maher's point. The media isn't just exaggerating. They're distorting reality to fit a narrative. It's not about informing the public anymore. It's about emotional manipulation, outrage clicks, and driving division. By amplifying fringe movements, they create the illusion of national consensus. And Maher's fed up with it. He's demanding the media return to truth and proportion, not panic and propaganda. What he says next is devastating. Watch. A Harvard youth poll proved it. They asked people 18 to 29 what issues mattered most to them. And out of 16 choices, Palestine came in 15. The vast majority just want to do what they went to college for in the first place, to experiment with being a lesbian. But when these kids chant the whole world is watching, they're right. But only because you with the cameras won't show anything else. Isn't there a bear in a swimming pool somewhere you should be covering? Tune in to the likes of MSNBC or NPR, and you'd think America was on the brink of civil war. Day after day, it's wall-to-wall coverage of protests as if nothing else in the country matters. It's the same tired formula. Find the outrage, crank it to 11, and blame Trump for every ripple in the water. According to them, if the nation is in chaos, it's because of what Trump is doing or not doing. They've reduced complex national issues to a single villain and a non-stop cycle of fear-driven reporting. Maher calls this what it is, media malpractice. Instead of informing viewers, these outlets are curating hysteria. They push the idea that America is falling apart just to keep people glued to their screens. It's performative journalism, not responsible reporting, and Maher isn't buying it. So, I thought as a public service, since it's so hard to find reliable news these days, Tonight I would provide a few rules of thumb for trying to follow the news in our modern age. Starting with, if the headlines in your preferred news outlet routinely feature words like shreds, destroys, pummel, bashes, your outlet is a partisan piece of either that or you're reading a Batman comic. It's fascinating and honestly a bit disturbing how even well-groomed, highly educated journalists fall into the trap of crafting sensational headlines just to chase clicks. These are people who were trained to seek truth, verify facts, and inform the public. Yet, many of them have traded integrity for attention. Sure, we can expect some bias from YouTube channels or independent creators who wear their political affiliations on their sleeves. At least they're honest about where they stand. But when mainstream journalists and major media outlets who loudly proclaim their neutrality start playing the same game, it's a betrayal of public trust. They're supposed to be the gatekeepers of truth, not the ringleaders of panic and outrage. Maher's frustration isn't just with the headlines themselves, but with the hypocrisy behind them. When objectivity is sacrificed for engagement metrics, journalism stops being a public service and starts becoming a performance. And that's exactly what Maher is calling out. If your news outlet consistently reduces everything that happens in the world to who the President of America is, get rid of it. It's just thoughtless, reflexive team politics. Trust me, no one lighting a tire fire in Haiti is thinking, I wouldn't have done this under Trump, but given the weakness of the Biden administration, why not? Maher absolutely nailed it with this one. In the run-up to the 2024 presidential election, all MSNBC and CNN could talk about was Trump. Day in and day out, it was wall-to-wall Trump coverage. Every scandal, every speech, every tweet dissected to death. At one point, I genuinely started to wonder if they even remembered Kamala Harris was on the ticket. Where was her message? Her vision, her policy plans completely drowned out. Every conversation somehow looped back to Trump. And that obsessive focus did more harm than good. The nonstop hysteria only amplified his presence, gave him free airtime, and ultimately made him the center of the political universe again. In their attempt to destroy Trump, they accidentally resurrected him and handed him the attention that helped fuel his comeback and win the election. The media might have just played themselves. Every problem in the world isn't caused by the president. When that train derailed in East Palestine, it wasn't because Trump deregulated the brakes and the container ship didn't hit the bridge because of Biden's woke die agenda. These aren't news stories. They're storylines pumped into your bubble. Even to this day, the left-leaning media just can't quit Trump. They blame him for everything from the economy to the weather. And now, even the recent ICE protests. Sure, Trump laid the groundwork with tough immigration policies, including directives to deport illegal immigrants. But let's be real. He's not the one physically orchestrating the raids or issuing tactical orders on the ground. That responsibility falls on officials like Tom Mann, the former acting ICE director, who's played a significant role in shaping and enforcing immigration enforcement strategies. Yet, you barely hear his name in the mainstream narrative. The media rarely acknowledges his influence. Even California Governor Gavin Newsom prefers to take jabs at Trump rather than confront or even mention Homeland directly. Why? Because Trump is the bigger headline. It's easier to keep the outrage machine running when you've got a familiar villain. But ignoring the actual architects of policy just shows how shallow and biased the coverage really is. Always be aware that once the news became a profit division of media companies, they stopped being in the news business and are now in the audience-stroking business. The goal is no longer to inform opinions. It's to reinforce them. Walter Cronkite used to say that's the way it is. Now that's our story and we're sticking to it. Aside from being profit-driven, many of these left-leaning media organizations are also ideologically motivated, often enforcing their worldview on their audiences rather than informing them with balanced perspectives. Take MSNBC for instance. You'll be hard-pressed to find a dissenting voice from the conservative side of the aisle. It's an echo chamber, plain and simple, where opposing opinions are either drowned out or completely excluded. CNN, to its credit, sometimes attempts to present a veneer of balance, occasionally bringing on a token conservative voice, but let's be honest, even then the panels are often lopsided with 3 or 4 liberal commentators circling around a single conservative like a political firing squad. The end result? Viewers are rarely exposed to genuine constructive debate. Instead, they're fed a curated version of reality, designed to reinforce pre-existing biases. It's not journalism. It's narrative management. And in a democracy, that kind of media behavior is as dangerous as it is dishonest. And on NPR, where they stop bashing the rich long enough only to beg for money, Jamaica is a paradise and Nebraska is a no-go zone. News Nation reported this year that the U.S. was on track for nearly a 300% increase in measles cases. 300%. Wow, that sounds like it could be millions. It was 35. Because they just want to manipulate you into clicking. Look, I have 10 fingers. You want to see me suddenly have 80% less? And this is exactly why so many of us admire Bill Maher. He doesn't tiptoe around the truth. And he certainly doesn't hesitate to name-drop the media outlets that shamelessly